Hi everyone, it's Jessica Dybzinski. Thank you so much for stopping by today. So it's time for a mystery envelope challenge that I do with my friends in the Makers with Heart group. And for this month's challenge, I have two 4x4 photos that I'm going to Scrapbook. And the envelope was sent out by my friend Kim Ferguson. So she has sent quite a few pieces in the envelope. We've got a couple of pieces of some zip strips, two white tags, a piece of red shimmer trim, and then two pieces of pattern paper and some candy apple cardstock. And then her rules are interesting. So she says that we cannot use any flowers or stars, which is kind of what the pattern papers have to do with. It's very much like a 4th of July kind of pattern paper. And so I'm looking at my photos and I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I can bring in some of that green that is in the photo. I do also have to add at least one other pop of color from a piece of cardstock. So the red will definitely work, but maybe I'll do green or blue. And then I can use any other additional pattern paper that I want, as long as I use all of these pieces that she has sent. And she also asked that we include some mixed media on those tags. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start by taking that 4x6 piece of pattern paper and I'm going to cheat it a little bit. I'm going to cut it in half so that way I can extend it across my page. And I'm going to do the same thing with that 3x4 piece of pattern paper. My thought is that I will kind of layer them on top of each other, and then my photos can go in the middle and hide where that missing gap is. So that's kind of my beginning thought. I do end up modifying this a little bit as I go, but I know I will definitely find a way to use all of the things that she has sent me. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some additional pattern paper that I'm going to pull in per her rules. So this is another piece from that same collection, Hello Darling from Close to My Heart, and I'm going to use this plaid piece down here. I'm really trying to tone down the 4th of July vibe. And again, I can't use any stars anyway, as she said in her rules. And so I'm just trying to make it kind of fun and playful and toy oriented that go along, with my pictures here. So I did grab some sapphire cardstock to map my photos. And then I think rather than using that one blue pattern paper, I think instead I might put my top layer as the red shimmer trim that she has included in the envelope. I just think that that ends up looking a little bit better, and I will try to use that pattern paper in a different way. So I have gone ahead and edge distress all of my papers here in some sapphire ink, and then I'm going to go ahead and adhere those down, including that shimmer trim. So kind of like the pattern paper, I'm just going to cut it in half and then cheat it a little bit. It's definitely a trick that I like to do. If you've got scraps, but you are working on a 12x12 size, there are always ways that you can make your paper look like it is bigger than it actually is, and take those little pieces and make them look like they stretch all the way across the page. So I'm not going to glue my photos down just yet because I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do behind them. I want to leave that part movable for now. And I'm just going to kind of play around with a couple of ideas. So I'm also going to bring in a stamp set that I just got in the mail like this morning. So I was very excited about that. And this is a sneak peek from the new July and August catalog for Close to My Heart. This stamp set is called Let's Play. And it really is just kid oriented. So it's got a lot of like toys on it, cars, soccer ball, just a lot of fun things. And then I'm definitely going to use that title that says Love This Boy. So a little sneak peek there, and that will be available July 1st. I decided that since I couldn't use any stars, but I still wanted to have a shape, I was going to go for some hexagons. So I went into my stash and found my Stitch to Hexagons thin cuts. And since I'd already cut that blue pattern paper in half and I made it too small, I just cut myself another piece of 3x4 in that same pattern that I had out of my own stash. And I just kind of replaced the one that she sent me in the envelope. And so I was able to get some hexagons out of that. And then again, I'm not going to put my photos down just yet. I'm kind of leaving that part movable. But I'm going to go ahead and adhere some of my hexagons like up in that top corner and then down here in the bottom. I do end up taking a little bit of foam tape and putting it behind that one red hexagon. And since I don't have my photos down yet, I'm making sure to kind of leave that empty spot there. And I'm trying not to put the sticky part on the photo so that way I can still move it and glue it down later when I am ready to. But I'll go ahead and get the rest of that all situated. I've also off camera stamped and colored and die cut those images out from that fun kid stamp set called Let's Play. And I'm trying to bring in some of that green that's in my photos because it's, again, a lot of red, white, and blue, and I don't really want it to have that patriotic feel. I just want it to be kind of playful and fun. So again, one of the rules that Kim said is that we had to include some mixed media on our tags. And I do have to use them because I've already pulled in that extra piece of pattern paper. And so in order to like legitimately use that, I have to use all of these things that she has sent me. So I'm just going to keep it real basic and do a little bit of stenciling. I am using the card front stencil pack number 2 just to add a couple of little dots on one tag and then some red hearts on the other. But spoiler alert, when I am done creating these tags and I go to put them onto my layout, they just really do not work at all. They look terrible with the rest of everything. And so I left this part in just to kind of show how I did that stenciling. But you'll have to stay tuned and see how I do end up using them. I did technically use them on my layout. And I do also technically add that mixed media by putting some stenciling on them. So I hope that I have followed all of the rules, even though they kind of end up the final version of them in a little bit of an unconventional way. You'll have to see. So tell me what you think here down in the comments. When I put these tags on, do you agree? They just do not go. They do not go. They look awful. And I was like, oh, shoot. And the back part of them had gotten a little smudged from being on my all-purpose mat. And I was like, I can't even flip them over. So I'm just going to kind of set those off to the side for now and try to brainstorm a way to still work them in. So I have already, like I said, die cut and colored some of the images from that stamp set, and I'm just going to arrange them around my layout here in a visual triangle, making sure as I'm creating those clusters to keep them touching each other. That's definitely a trick that I have picked up along the way that helps your clusters kind of come together a little bit better. And I was really happy with those images because not only are they toys and they go along with the photos, but they're bringing in those additional colors just to kind of help take it away from that 4th of July vibe that the paper pack has going on. So hopefully the colors don't clash too much, but I think they end up working. And then I'm using those little zip strip pieces that Kim sent in the envelope, and I'm going to cut 2 of them into some pennant banners, and I'm going to add them up here just to kind of make yet another point, a visual point on my layout. And then I have that 3rd one, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with it. I thought about possibly kind of laying it across horizontally this way. I wasn't sure, so I kind of left it sitting there so I could look at it and think about it while I was working. Now, those die cuts off to the left-hand side there are just some extra ones that I have die cut out of white cardstock, and I've already glued 2 pieces of cardstock thick on them. My thought was as I was going to put them behind the colored ones to replace them, or like replace foam tape, so that way I could just stack them up higher. But rather than doing that, I'm going to save those for a future project, and I'm going to cut those now ugly tags up, and I'm just going to cut them up and glue them to the back of my die cut pieces here and use that as my foam tape, if you will, instead. So, I mean, they are used on my layout and they do have some stenciling on them. So I know my friend Kim, and she's like one of the sweetest people I know. I doubt she will say that I didn't follow the rules. She's very kind and forgiving. So I did do my best to make sure that I could still have that extra piece of pattern paper on my layout. They're in there. They're used. They have some stenciling on them. All right, I'm going to take that extra 3rd piece and I'm going to just slide it under my photo here. I don't really love that, but I wasn't really feeling it up at the top either. And so again, it's on there, but it's just kind of a little bit hidden. So I'll trim some of the excess pieces off from the back. I'm going to flip my Versamat over so I can have the spongy foam side for stamping. And I'm going to go ahead and start working on stamping some of the sentiments from that stamp set. So I really love this one that says, "Love this boy." And a lot of these toys are things that my daughters play with too. And so I know it'll be really easy just to kind of mask that boy part off. And, you know, I could use my alphabet stamp sets to say kid or girl, if I go to use the stamp set with my daughters as well. But just if you have little kids in your life, I really think that this is going to be a stamp set that people love. So again, that will be available on July 1st. And in the description box, if you're watching this at the end of June, you won't be able to access it just yet, but I will come back in after July 1st and add a link directly to this stamp set once it becomes available to everyone. I can tell it's going to be one of my new favorites. So there are some stars on there as well. So I'm just kind of scattering the bigger one and the smaller ones around my page. And look at this. See, I'm going to use that tag again. It's going to help kind of let me stamp off the side of my layout here as I'm putting that bigger star down. And once I got to this point, I was feeling like there was a lot of white space still up at the top of my page, and I wasn't sure what to do with that. I came back to Kim's rules just to kind of make sure that I wasn't missing anything. And I think I have all of the things colored. I mean, I have used all the stuff she sent me. I've got a couple little scraps and pieces over here. I've got 2 pops of color in cardstock. I didn't do, oh, you know what? I did stamp stars in there. I'm just now realizing that. But I didn't do it in a way that was 4th of July feeling, and I think that's what she meant. All right, so my thought was that maybe I would do some shimmer brush splatters and sapphire up at the top in that white space. I actually held off on doing that. I might still go back and end up doing it later, but instead I did stamp a couple of the other sentiments from that stamp set just in 2 other spots, and I think it might still need some splatters, so I might have to come in now that I'm done filming this and still carefully put them on. Of course, now that I've got everything down, it's like, oh, why didn't I think of that earlier? But it is what it is, right? All right, guys, so this was the mystery envelope challenge, and my friends have all gotten the same pieces from Kim, and it's fun to go in and watch their videos and see what they created and how everybody's mind just works differently, even with the same parts and pieces. So I will leave all of these ladies' video links in the description box down below, as well as links to any products that I use that are available. Thank you so much for watching here today. I hope you are having a wonderful day and happy crafting. Bye!